What's going on, guys? It's Dean here. In this video, I'm going to show you guys how to connect a GPT model to a tool like Zapier, which really gives it access to, I think, over 5,000, 5,000 applications and over 50,000 different actions. And you can see just by now, probably you're thinking all the different use cases that you can do with this. And we're going to be using a tool called Langchain. And for those of you that don't know what Langchain is, it's essentially it's a framework for helping solve a lot of the limitations that current LLM models like GPT-3 and 4 have right now. I have a whole video dedicated to it, kind of a high-level conceptual video. Definitely check that out if you're interested. There's a ton of other videos out there as well. I give a great explanation. But just know that it helps solve a lot of the limitations, and it makes it very easy for developers to kind of tie in a lot of the different pieces together, which I'll go more in depth on soon. But before we get into this, I just want to show you guys this simple use case that I've developed. So if we go back to my code here, and I'm going to have this for you guys, just a quick GitHub repo. I mean, it's a very simple file. And if you don't have any technical experience, don't get scared by any of this. I'm going to try and explain it as best as I can. And quite frankly, I don't even think you need technical experience. But really quick, as you guys can see from this input, I'm having the agent essentially grab the invoice from my email and send the subject and body to my team on Slack, in the projects channel. And I'm even specifying to put the price on its own line and bolded. So this is all the directions that I've given it. I have nothing else set up. You can see that this is just in 30 lines of code. Some of this is just logging. It's unnecessary, but again, just pay attention to this input. And let me just show you guys really quick. If I come back to my Gmail account, I've created this just test email here, but you can even see I have two emails here. But if I click on, I just sent a fake email for an invoice from a window washing service. So you can see I have the job description, the amount, which specifies the price, timeline, payment options, different, cash check, whatever. You guys can obviously see it's a, simple invoice. And essentially our goal, as I showed you in the prompt, is to grab this invoice and then send it in our projects channel in our Slack group. So for example, this could be your company Slack group. And you can see, again, this is all the directions we've added it. So as we can see here, we are in the projects channel. You can see there's several other channels as well. If I expand this, general, random, we've selected the projects channel. And then you can see the actual chat is empty, so we can actually go ahead and run our script. We'll do npm run script, and then you can see I've also set verbose to true, so it's going to kind of think out loud. You can see it's actually found the invoice already. I'm amazed by this too every time I do it, and it's now going to send a message to the Slack channel. You can see it almost gave us what we were asking for. Got the output of the subject, body of the email with the invoice, was sent to the projects with the price formatted on its own bold line. You can see it's kind of it's trying to format it with those asterisks there, but even though it wasn't exactly what we wanted, you can obviously fine tune this input to get it. But again, it's pretty nuts that we haven't given it any other, instructions other than what's in this simple text input. We're essentially making an API call with English, and it's handling all the logic on its own. So, and sometimes I'll just go ahead and do this as well. Sometimes if we do run it multiple times, we will get different responses. Again, this is in beta as well. I'm sure they're going to improve this model, but yeah, okay, so it's given us a very similar response, but again, sometimes it will give it the full body, and some, like I said, you may have to be more descriptive in your prompt You can see I just said email body to my team, but you can see that it's communicating with both of these softwares and automating what our objective is just with 3 lines of text here. So let's actually get back into the Zapier. So if you want to have access to this, again, like I said, this isn't beta mode right now. You do have to sign up for this, but for me, as soon as I signed up, I was able to get an account, have developer access, but definitely recommend you guys read through their docs. But if we actually jump into their natural language actions, we can see, so they give us this API key, which again, I'll show you guys really quick how to get all of this set up. But if we come into the manage actions, we can see the 2 actions that we have enabled. So Gmail and then Slack. So like I said, you can literally add 5,000 or 50,000 different actions across 5,000 apps. So if we want to add something with Salesforce, for example, we can see all the actions associated with that. So now you can kind of see maybe, what if we said, grab the invoice, and I've never used Salesforce before, but I'm just saying, grab the invoice and, create a record in our Salesforce table, and also send it out to our Slack team. So you can see how the different use cases really kind of expand as we understand more so how it works. So I do want to show you one of the actions and kind of how they have it set up. So if we just click on one, we can see we have our email account linked, authorized, and we have the action associated with what we want. And then also the parameters. So we can see it even has the search string guessed. We're having the AI essentially find this, which for those of you guys that aren't familiar with programming, obviously sending any other API requests to other applications, you have to specify all of these parameters in detail for the most part. And you can see we just have the AI guess. So if we come back to our input, we can just see we're telling it to grab the invoice, and from this it's going to search for a subject with, for instance, the invoice labeled in it. So we can have as we have invoice 001 labeled here. So that's pretty nuts. And if we just come back, we can see the same thing is said with the Slack. So we can see it's going to guess the channel as well as the message. So we told it to, go to the projects channel, and then also as the message, put the body and subject in it. So you can see it got pretty damn close, and I've actually had it work several times, like perfectly. I don't know why, of course, when I'm recording this, it wasn't, but you can see it's really trying and even thinking on its own. So if we go through this really quick, again, I'm using Langchain to help abstract all of this. Langchain, it's really useful. It's a great framework to use for use cases like this. But one thing I did want to show you is this agent executor. So if we come back to Langchain's docs, as it suggests, it makes agents a lot more powerful and makes them iterative. So it just calls until the job is done. So which is just nuts to me. This is very similar to how AutoGPT works. I'm sure you guys have seen demos of that on Twitter by now. Again, just really nuts. But so yeah, you could kind of compare this to something like Mr. Meeseeks from Rick and Morty. Essentially helping arrive at the final answer, and it won't stop until the job is done, which is pretty cool. But again, so we initialize it here, we give it the 0-shot example, and then from there we have the input, and then essentially calls that executor that we initialized here and gives it that and feeds it the input. And real quick, I'm just going to comment this out. But if we come here and comment this out, this will be helpful just to make sure that you guys have a successful connection. And let me just save that. So now this isn't going to execute anything, but we go ahead and run it. We should see the tools, the different tools that are connected right now in our environment. So we can see the 2 actions that I showed you guys in Zapier's kind of no-code UI that we toggled on a few minutes ago. You can see that we have connected with the tools. and then we're just mapping through them. But again, guys, this is a very kind of simple use case of this. Obviously, like, we're feeding in an input, but if we wanted to, for instance, chain this with other prompts, or maybe have the output of that chained into another agent, or have it in a chat model, for example, you can see kind of how more of these complex chains add up, and you can do a whole lot more with it. So again, I'm gonna have this. I'm gonna have the repo or the GitHub file to clone this in the description. Again, it's a very simple file, and this is just a Next.js application. Even though we're not using anything on the front end, you don't really need all of this, but I'm just very used to their boilerplate and how they have everything set up. But the only two things you will need to get this script running is the OpenAI API key and the Zapier natural language actions API key, which you'll need to sign up for their beta access for that. But as soon as you guys have that, you can run npm run script, which I've specified in the package.json to execute this. I hope this has interested you guys and kind of opened up your mind to show what some of the capabilities are with tying in different agents. And again, this was a very simple use case. You can kind of see, as we chain everything together, we can solve more complex problems that are involved in the even day-to-day operations of your business. And if you're interested in implementing this into your own business, all these integrations, and you may not have the technical experience, let us help you out. I'm actually doing this right now with several companies, integrating it into their I'd say very complex systems. So if you're interested in this, definitely check us out. Check out our website, view our different plans, or just contact us if you even have any questions. We also did just launch a free Discord. I'm a lot more kind of active in there. If any of you guys have any questions, there may also be other no-code and code devs to help you out. But definitely check us out there. And I hope you guys also clone this repo and play around with it yourself, add different integrations, see kind of what cool things you can create. I'd love to know. I'd love to see what you guys are building. So I hope this was useful for you guys. I hope you guys learned something, and let me know kind of what more style videos you guys want. Thank you.